Hi, Miles of Mountains athletes. Welcome to this core routine. This is really a lot thanks to a chiropractor that I've been seeing in the Boston area named Brian Kent at Forward Spine and Sport. I highly recommend following him for more of this and really all kinds of really cool things that you can do to support your running. I did take a few liberties in adding some difficulty, kind of coordinating and making this into a more organized routine. But a lot of the general concepts are thanks to him. And they're not things that I've really seen before in other core routines, so I'm hoping that this is going to help everyone. So this routine has some really important concepts. And the really main concept is that we are primarily using our core as a way to stabilize both our shoulders and our spine and our hips. We're not using it for dynamic movement so much. We're really using it as this kind of expansive, I like to think of it as a barrel. It's a barrel that obviously holds our organs and we need to be able to fill up with air, but it's very static and it's very strong. So this core routine is going to make you work. Even if you're used to doing planks, you're used to doing sit-ups and leg raises and things like that, my hope is that this will give you a pretty good workout. So this has 5 different stages. You can see I have a few things here. You don't actually need any materials other than yourself and a mat until stage 3. But I have 3 things. I have a weight. This one's a 15-pound kettlebell. I'd recommend starting with probably 10, but this is what I had. You most likely will not need any more than 25 unless you're a weightlifter or have a really, really strong core. I have a band for my hips. Again, this is the crossover symmetry hip and core or hip halo. You don't need this. You can use any TheraBand, any loop stretchy band is just fine. And then I also have a short loop. This is about 8 or 10 inches. And this one's going to be for adding some difficulty to my arms. Again, you can just use a TheraBand. The strength on these really doesn't matter because you're just using it to kind of guide your activation. You're not really working in that direction, you're just keeping everything activated. So don't worry too much about the exact strength. All right, so there are a couple key concepts here, and I'm not sure if you can see my face, but hopefully you can see enough of me. So the key concept is that we want to keep our pelvis neutral, and we talked a little bit about that in the hip video. We can do that either by squeezing our glutes or contracting our core. And what we really want to do is contract our core so that our glutes are free to propel us forward. So we want to keep our pelvis forward, and I'll show you what that looks like on the ground because it's really easy to feel the way that I have this routine set up. If you're doing a plank, what's often going to happen is that you'll get an arch in your back, and it won't be much, but it'll be enough, and you'll counteract that by contracting your glutes, and that really is not beneficial for running. So what we really want is a strong core, a stacked spine, right? So shoulders right above our hips. And we want this to be static and expansive like a barrel, really, really strong. And we want to be able to breathe into that and create our stability. All right, so again, there are 5 different levels. The most important thing is that you do not progress to the next level until you're totally comfortable and confident and have perfect form on the level that you're on. If you get to the next level and you find your form is lacking, go back. Add difficulty through, if there's weight, or add difficulty through repetition, add difficulty through time. Do not let yourself have lackluster form. It's really, really important. As you're working out, you want to go until your muscles, your core obviously, start to get that quivery sensation from the work, and then give it a few more reps or a few more seconds, and then take a break. You can do 2 reps. I like to do 2 to 3 every couple days, and then on the off days, it's really just 1. It's kind of getting that activation, and it's really more neurological and neuromuscular than it is actually building strength. But I really find it helps to keep my form good on runs. I do maybe 20 or 30 seconds before running, along with a few other exercises, and I really find it helps. All right, so level 1 and the basic positioning. You're going to be on your back, and your legs are going to be at 90 degrees, okay? So straight up and down. If you have a pillow for under your neck, that's going to be really helpful to keep the stress and the strain off of your throat and your neck. we really want to make sure our lats are pulling our shoulder blades down. And the most important thing here is that we are pushing the small of our back into the floor. We should not feel our pelvis pushing into the floor like this, because that means there's an arch here. And that is not what we want. We really need our pelvis pushing down. And what is very common is that when asked to do that, people will pull their legs this way. But that's not what we want. We need to use our core to do that work for us. So this is really level 1. And I like to add what I call a bug roll, or a dead bug. And that's just going to look like this. And I'm really pulling with my obliques, and the small of my back is still pushing toward the floor. And you do these really slowly, and you should be able to breathe into that canister. And that's that. All right, before I talk about level 2, I should add that this core routine, you really need to get rid of any thinking about your aesthetics. So we're not going to be kind of sucking it in and pulling our core in. We're really going to be expanding it and keeping it as kind of a really firm barrel or canister. So don't think about, oh, I need to pull my core in and contract and make it look like I don't have a gut or whatever. Don't think about that. Please think about your performance and your overall, functionality as an athlete. The aesthetics are a whole other conversation entirely that I am not going to talk about. So, this level, we're going to add a little bit of dynamic movement. However, our core is still going to be pretty static. So we're expanding, and then we're just going to add some heel touches. And notice that my core is staying static. My core is keeping that pelvis level. Remember, pull your lats, pull your shoulder blades down. And all I'm doing is doing bent leg heel touches, just like that. It's really pretty simple. Keep them nice and slow. And make sure that small of the back is pressed right into the ground. That is level 2. All right, so level 3 adds a little bit of difficulty. So the first level of difficulty we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding a straight leg dynamic movement. So instead of having a bent leg, or bent knee, we are now going to straighten. And remember, the important part, small of the back, lats pulled down, shoulder blades pulled down. And remember that small of the back, that's the most important part. All right, so straight legs. Then separately, don't do these together. That's the next level. Separately, you're going to put a weight in your hands, and this is just a 15-pound kettlebell. You can use a 10-pound dumbbell or really anything that weighs about that you have laying around the house. And I'm going to keep my legs static at 90 degrees. Keep that small of the back pressed. And keep my shoulder blades down. I'll show you what it looks like if I don't. That is not helping my core. That's shifting all the weight to my shoulders and my arms. I can already feel this in my core. Emphasize pretty slow movements, very controlled. And remember that small of the back, pressed to the ground. You will actually feel it in your lower abs as well. All right, so those two are going to be level 3. So level 4, you might have guessed, is going to be doing both parts of level 3 at the same time. This is obviously an added level of difficulty, and again, please really focus on perfect form. That is the most important thing. So again, small of the back. You can see that I spend a little bit of time really getting things exactly how I want them, because the proprioception of being able to feel when your form is correct is really important. So I'm going to have my weight. I'm going to pull my lats, pull my shoulder blades down, push the small of my back into the ground, expand, hold that, and be able to breathe into that. And then we're doing the straight legs and the weight. And again, we're focusing on perfect form. And you might be able to see that my form is lacking just slightly. The small of my back is just slightly coming off the ground. I would not be moving on. And in fact, I would either choose a lower weight, or I would perhaps choose just no weight in the hands and just doing hand motions. But I would not accept that. Do not accept poor form. It's not going to help you. All right, level 5. Again, you should only be here if level 4 is really easy for you and you have perfect form, okay? For this, I have both bands, one for around my elbows, and all this is doing is giving me a little bit of outward activation, okay? A little bit of this abduction. I'm not going to be actively pushing hard. All it is more of a reminder for my muscles. And the same thing is going to be used around the knees. This is actually really important. Don't activate too much, because you're going to get some clicking in your hips most likely, which it isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's really not what we're going for. So all this is kind of a subtle reminder to keep those external rotators and those abductors firing throughout this core exercise. So think of it more as a reminder than actually adding work. And again, I'm going to spend a little bit of time finding my positioning. Again, the small of the back is pressed to the ground. As I discussed a moment ago, I'm probably not ready for this level, but I'd like to show it to you anyway. So, I'm activating just a bit. I'm activating here. And the motion is like this. And you can probably see that the small of my back is coming off the ground just a bit. So I would not be settled for that. I would not continue. I would go back to level 4 or even level 3. I got to level 5 a few weeks ago, and like many of us, I've been slacking a little bit, right? And I need to go back, probably 2 levels. That's okay, right? Fitness and strength and life, it comes in waves. It's a roller coaster. We all know that. Don't assume that if it's been a week, or if it's been 2 weeks or a month or 6 months, don't assume that you can do exactly what you could before. Find out what level you're at. Don't let your ego get in the way, just like anything. Go back a few levels. The functionality of this core work is all going to be the same. All right? Please try to do this, I would say twice a week with 2 sets, and then maybe 1 or 2 other times a week that are just kind of like activation. To be honest, I do 20 to 30 seconds of this before every single run that I do. I just find that it helps me keep my form throughout my run, and I think that you will too. So give this a shot. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if there are things that I can improve about this video, and then I will release it to the public. And I hope to make a lot of other videos for Miles and Mountains exclusive very soon. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate you being with me.